Hey, welcome back to Salty Roots. It's been a few weeks since I've uploaded a video. We've had quite a bit going on. We purchased a new vehicle. It's a 2001 Land Rover. Got a really good deal on it, but it definitely needs some love, so I've been a little preoccupied with that. It's 20 plus years old, but we bought that specifically so that we can drive it onto the beach, which is something that you can do here in St. Augustine. So that's been cool, a lot of fun so far. We also had Hurricane Helene come through, which luckily for us had minimal damage, a lot of wind. Had some yard cleanup to do, but needed to prep the tanks and everything for the worst, and luckily it wasn't too bad. I know a lot of you are in a different boat and experienced the brunt of that, and our thoughts are with you if you experienced a lot worse from Hurricane Helene. And then lastly, we have our third baby coming here real soon. We're about 35 weeks, and so definitely here at the tail end and doing a lot to prepare for that. But I still wanted to bring you up to speed on what's been going on with the tanks. I've kept up with them the best I can and wanted to provide you with that update. So here we go.
The rainbow incinerator I just picked up from Bryce is pretty interesting because he puts them on these large plastic tiles. He puts his main structure right there in the middle, and then these little babies pop off and grow onto the tile. So it's kind of cool. I can take this main piece off here and put it into the big tank, and then I can put some of these smaller heads or babies onto another frag plug for the desktop tank here. So we'll have some of the rainbow incinerator in both tanks. The desktop tank has been up and running for 1 month now. As you can see, I have both fish and coral added. The bubble coral, as noted, came from the bigger tank. It was struggling over there. Not doing great over here, but hopefully it will bounce back. And then I also brought over that gold hammer and the purple frog spawn from the Waterbox 190.5. They're doing okay. The purple frog spawn did break a little bit when I was taking it off the frag plug, putting it into this tank, and so it's not overly happy right now, but hoping it will come back just fine. I grabbed a few things from our September local club meetup. That would be the micro Goniopora down here. I'd never seen one of those before, but apparently it will grow out more wide as opposed to your traditional Gonis kind of growing the long flowy stems. It will stay closer to the skeleton, and then the polyps are much smaller. So that'll be interesting to see. I grabbed that purple Kenya tree in the back as well. And then you see these zoas up front all came from our meetup. And then lastly, I think we're giving away free mangroves. So I grabbed one of those and put it in the back chamber. We're definitely in the thick of the ugly stage at the 1 month mark here, but otherwise everything seems to be going okay, and we'll keep you updated. It's been just over 2 months. This is where we're at. It looks okay. It's a lot better than it was even yesterday. It was almost impossible to see, and it was filled with so much algae both on the glass and through the water. The water, after pulling it out, looking at it in the white bucket, was nearly purely green. And so again, desperate need for a water change and potentially some additional filtration. I might try to find a cheaper UV for this, but we'll see. This is to be expected at this point of the tank's life, and so I'm not too worried about it. I also have the AI Prime 16 light on here, and so that's a pretty powerful light, and I know that's contributing to a lot of the algae with the tank being so new. But overall, not too bad. I intentionally didn't clean any of the glass just to show you kind of what it looks like on a daily basis before I do that task, and here's where we're at. So current date, the desktop tank is doing really well. This is kind of what I had in mind when I set this tank up, just to have here in my office. A nice little tank in the corner with some softy and LPS coral in it, hopefully clear for the most part, which is what we're looking at now. As you can see, the sand bed has
cleared up and is nice and white again. The algae on this side of the glass is not nearly as prevalent. I only have to clean that once every couple of days. Corals, for the most part, doing okay. The microgani down here has polyps extended, nice gentle flow. Same thing with the hammer. Kenya tree in the back doing well. The frog spawn is definitely coming back and it seems like it's pretty happy. And then the bubble coral, not terrible, not doing as well as I would like, but continues to make a comeback here in the smaller tank. The only corals not doing well would be these rainbow incinerator zoas, which have been touch and go. When I first put them in, they looked great. Then they shriveled up a little bit, then they came back. And so now we're back to a little bit of melting. However, you can still see some color on them just barely, and I'm hoping that they will pull through. Fish are super happy. They eat like pigs. They get along really well. And then the mangrove up top lost the leaves that were on it when I put it here in the back chamber, but it is sprouting some new growth there. So I think that that's gonna hopefully grow as well. And my filter is still just the floss here, and then that mangrove sucking up some nitrates. I'm curious to know if you would add anything else to this or just let the rocks and some of that floss and mangrove really do the filtering along with my water changes. I think that should be plenty, but put it in the comments if you would suggest like trying to find a little hang on UV or any other media to this tank. But really happy with the desktop tank and the fact that it's kind of settled in a little bit and matured enough to where it's aesthetically nice to look at, which was the goal here in the office. So happy with that. If we step out here, head into the living room where the larger water box tank is, the 190.5. Also doing really well overall. It's at the 8-month mark and starting to see some positive signs of maturity and growth in this tank. You can see the coral line all across the back of the glass and some other things that we'll touch on here in a bit. But the biggest problem is all across the bottom of the sand. There is quite a bit of cyanobacteria. And as far as why I have that cyano, I'm not overly worried about it. It's pretty common and normal in tanks. I know for me, at least one of the biggest reasons is my nutrients have dropped to zero. My phosphate and nitrates have both plummeted here as of late, and so I'll work on correcting that. But I think that's one of the leading factors to why I've seen this outbreak across the bottom of my sand. I don't think anyone knows the quote one reason that you get cyanobacteria. I think there's lots of reasons, but that's just my opinion, and I think that's the biggest one, at least for my tank. So we'll work on that. Like I said, not overly concerned with it. I have done chemi-clean in the past, or I've dosed chemi-clean in the past. And I'm not opposed to doing that. I have videos on that on my channel, but it requires some additional steps and things that I'm not really wanting to do on this tank quite yet. When it gets kind of matted like this, what you can do is reach in there and physically move and kind of slide the cyano into clumps and then manually remove that. And that's definitely what I'll do first, and then a water change and kind of use the siphon to vacuum some additional areas. And I think we'll be in pretty good shape there, especially when I start feeding a little bit more to get my nitrates up and dosing some of the liquid phosphates that I have, making sure that I'm testing for that golden rule, right? Don't ever dose anything you can't test for, especially phosphates. In my opinion, you don't want those getting out of control, but it's all about finding that balance. But as I said, along with the coral line in the back of the tank, we are also seeing a lot of encrusting with the corals. If you follow my Instagram channel, I posted about that the other day, where a lot of these are really taking hold and grabbing onto the rock and encrusting and seeing some positive growth. So starting over here on the left side, the green slimers are doing well, and we're definitely seeing some extension there. The purple acro next to the slimers, or in between, I should say, both of these slimers, is seeing some white tip growth, and it's definitely gotten bigger since I've placed it in there. The stylophora continues to be the best grower in the tank, and it's encrusting there at the bottom and just getting really large and doing well. My little Miliopora has grown a new branch over there on the left side, and so that's a good sign, and it's also encrusting around the plug. Same thing with the Garf bonsai. You can see that ring at the base going out along the rock, which is a great sign of growth. At the bottom, this Recordia mushroom is starting to stretch out and go down the rock. And this hairy mushroom, very easy coral, continues to get quite large. Devil's hand, doing well. Bower Banky, looking healthy. And then you can see the anemone in the back corner there still has yet to move. That's kind of the left side of the tank. In the middle here, we have this lemon lime acro. If you look closely, you can see some polyps extended, and it's also grown a little bit since it's gone in the tank. Blastomusa is showing some good color. It has grown a couple of new heads since it's gone in the tank. The acan at the bottom hasn't necessarily gotten bigger. It's lost some color as well, but it looks okay overall in my opinion with the feeders out, so keep an eye on that one. Next to that is this torch that I just cannot seem to find a happy place for. I've moved it a few times and it extends, just never fully. And so, not sure, we may look to move that to the desktop tank. Moving over to the right, at the top here, the Bill Murray, as you can see, is doing really well with its polyps extended and growing quite a few new branches over there on the left side. Super happy to see that, because if you have seen my other videos, at one point that fell into the bubble coral, and I definitely thought I lost it. So it's coming back really strong. Next to that is this bird's nest, which is growing fast as bird's nests typically do. One thing that's concerning to me, however, is the base down here. It's really just not, it does not have a strong foundation, right? It's just one little stick attached to that frag plug. And I wish it would, I don't know if bird's nests even do this, but somehow grow a little bit more at the base and get a stronger foundation, because otherwise it's going to continue to form in this ball mini structure or mini colony structure. I just feel like if it gets big enough with just a tiny little place being secured right there, it's eventually just going to tip over. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. Behind it, kind of hard to see, but there's another little small bird's nest back there. A little difficult to get the shot as well, but there's also a Montipora in the back, a green and red Montipora. So the Montipora is right back here, and I intentionally put it in the back. My hope is that it will kind of plate out and cover this back area. Nothing back there in that area, so it won't matter that it's shading. That's the goal with that piece specifically. This acro is also showing some signs of growth. It's stalled on me for the longest time, and I'm finally starting to see some growth. As you can see right there, right on cue. I have a hard time securing that because it's right next to this power head. So although from a growth perspective, it seems to like the light and the flow, overall, it's fallen a few times, which it's about to again. And so I really need to secure that much better, because they need that stability and solid foundation to grow, in my opinion. So we'll have to work on that. Below that, you see the Rose Goniopora. Lights just came on not too long ago. Normally this is extended quite a bit more, and it really likes that spot. So happy with that one. Right next to it, the Space Invader continues to grow and do well. Moving over to the Zoa rock, I recently added from the meetup this Rainbow Incinerator Zoa, and then speaking of rainbows, the monster, the Rainbow Infusion just continues to take over the rock, which is okay. I mean, I want this whole rock to be Zoas, ideally have some more diversity there, but this one just is really dominating the rock. The blow pops down there trying to hang on and keep their space, and the, what I think is a Rasta Zoa, is probably doing second best from the Zoa island down here. This is a toadstool, same thing with the Goniopora. Throughout the day it will slowly open up, but overall I don't think it likes the tank, so I will have to go ahead and more than likely move that over to the desktop tank as well with some more gentle flow. I think that'll do well over there. The Pandora Zoa, as I've said in previous videos, is just on its own rock because it does kind of spread and it's not the prettiest looking zoa, so I just made sure I put it on its own rock. We have another anemone up there that hasn't moved since I put it into the tank. Accidentally, if you've seen my other videos as well. It was up in a cup, and then spilled out of the cup and then grabbed hold, so hasn't been causing any problems so far. This candy corn fabia, as you can see, has really encrusted and spread out across this rock, which is a great sign. Really liking the growth on that one. And then right next to it, the yellow submarine, also starting to spread out and get some color back. It just, I don't know, over the months hasn't really been doing much and has been a bit faded, so really liking the growth on that one. Down below is what I believe is a chalice, but I won this in a raffle, and when I got it, it was just kind of barely that blue color, and since then it's grown a little bit and got some reddish orange on the side, and then here very recently I've noticed even some green on the back, and so really excited to kind of watch how that continues to grow. It's super slow, but we'll see if any additional colors pop up and kind of the growth pattern on that one. I believe that's all of them. All the fish are alive and well, getting fatter by the day. But again, I still need to even increase my feeding to help with some of my nutrient issues. So I'm happy. I'm not, as I said, really that concerned with the cyano. I'll take care of that, I think, relatively quickly. The filtration, really nothing's changed down below. Still running the Reef Octopus skimmer there. Not overly excited about how loud. Sometimes it's not really loud right now, but sometimes these two air pipes will get really loud when I'm sitting there watching TV, but it does a good job. The filter socks still. And then in the middle, I really didn't have anything in there before. I don't run any Chaeto, and obviously with very low nutrients, I don't want to put anything that's gonna suck additional nutrients out. And so what I ended up doing was just throwing some additional rock in there to help with the beneficial bacteria growth. And I just think it's super helpful to have seeded rock on hand for a variety of reasons. So for now, that'll work just fine, keeping that in there. Said this before, but I really want to get the Space Saver auto top off. But definitely pretty simple under here. I've been dosing the alkalinity by hand to this point, and that's been fine, along with some of my water changes, keeping up with kind of where I want my alk to be, around 8.5. But with all of this growth that I'm referring to, I am going to need to start the automatic doser here soon, which I have a big jug of the Refusion alkalinity in the other room, so that won't be an issue. I just, honestly, I'm lazy. I need to get that in there and programmed because it's getting harder and harder to keep up with the alkalinity dosing by hand. It's a good problem to have. Overall, the philosophy of keeping it simple with this tank and trying not to touch anything has proven to, so far at 8 months, be very beneficial. That's been, I think, one of my biggest problems with past tanks, is just moving things around and constantly tinkering with it and not letting it just stabilize and grow. And so, you know, I'm going to continue with that philosophy and just try to let things settle in, keep it simple with water changes, clean my filter socks, keep up on my dosing as needed, but really not do much more than that, and see how far it takes us. So at the end of the day, I probably should have attempted to clean up all of the cyanobacteria before shooting this, so I could show you a nice pristine sand bed and seemingly perfectly looking tank. But we all know there is no perfect tank, and that's not the goal of these videos either. As I always say, be successful faster. I like to take you along on the journey and show you the things that I struggle with and how I attempt to attack them, and if they work, instead share that knowledge. So as always, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, all the things, and we will see you in the next one.